As you've indicated earlier on, that the building is owned by the city, and who should be held accountable? Who has blood on their hands?
Yeah, I mean, I think, this is such a tragic situation that we're seeing. But what we are looking at here is one that there hasn't been maintenance, at least it seems, of this particular building. And that it has become derelict, like most of the buildings in the inner city. And this shouldn't have been the fate of this particular building, because in most of the buildings that we speak about, a lot of the owners are not present in those buildings. Most of them, fled, left the country in the early 90s, in the mid to early 90s, going into the 2000s. But then here we actually have a owner, which is the city of Johannesburg, which is, the state. And they should have been keeping up with the building and to the upkeep of the building and ensuring that the conditions are safe for this particular building. And I mean, we'd be speculating as to what caused the fire, but I think we are safe to say that what has accelerated it is sort of like how the building has been structured and the makeshift divisions that have been put up in the buildings, which would not have been there if proper management of the building was in place.
As SERI, do you know which NGO the Joburg mayor is referring to that got the lease, at least to run this facility, but also at which point did the NGO lose control of the building?
No, not at this stage. It's not information that we currently have as to who the city leased the building to and when it abandoned the building.
Okay. And you just heard there a very frustrated MMC for public safety there, Dr. Mqinitwako, saying that it is, again, organizations like yourself, SERI, that are not coming to the table, that continuously take the city to court instead of helping them to find a solution. What's your response to that?
Yeah, I mean, we've been as proactive as we possibly can in trying to assist the city to remedy the situation in the inner city. Both in terms of doing research that sort of like looks at the conditions that are present in the inner city, and also coming up with various recommendations for how the situation can be alleviated. And so it's something that we have been doing for close to a decade now. Now, when it comes to issues of going to court, we also don't want to litigate on these issues. We would want the city to, if they see that a particular building is an emergency and needs to relocate people, that they actually do so and relocate people to an alternative accommodation. What has been the issue is that the city just, in previous cases, it would just want to come and throw people out into the streets, and we are saying give them an alternative that is suitable for them, and that's where we haven't been able to find each other.
But Edward, isn't there also a case to be made that if organizations such as SERI are interested in the human rights and the living conditions of these people in these buildings, to take the city to court and say that you are failing these people and there are possible tragedies that could unfold, and try to avoid this particular situation even before the city comes up with the evictions? Because a lot of the times we see SERI stepping in upon evictions, the illegal evictions that is, but not necessarily when it comes to trying to find the alternative accommodation for these people while they're living in squalor.
Yeah, no, I mean, we are actually quite concerned about the living situations in these buildings. And that is why we have consistently done, research that looks into how the city can provide accommodation at a more programmatic level and respond to the situation in the inner city, not just in emergencies, but also looking at what other alternatives that are available. So I think the mayor was speaking about, rental rooms for rental, that municipal rooms for rental that the city is looking into. I think that's what he was suggesting in the interviews there. That is something that we support, that the city needs to have accommodation that people can go and rent, that is affordable, and that doesn't have sort of like the conditions that people are facing. So yeah, I mean, we are concerned. I think it's just that the issues that have come up with the media and sort of like captivated the media is when it has resulted in sort of like the evictions, but we are acting even outside of that.
Have you taken the city to court for the living conditions that people find themselves in? Is there a matter that you can refer us to? Because the other point around this, Edward, is that there are conditions that need to be met, that you have inspectors in the city that are supposed to be inspecting these buildings. And if they fail to inspect those buildings, it means that they are breaking the law. Has SERI done any of that? Is there a matter that you can refer us to?
No, so we haven't litigated on saying that you need to relocate people at this, but it's discussions that we have had with the city. It's just that they have not made their way to court.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.